As we saw in the first movie of this chapter, we're going to start building our login system by writing an entrance page in static HTML, and then we're going to write the login script, which is going to contain the form where the user can enter their username and password. The entrance HTML page is so simple that it doesn't bear me going through each tag and typing it out. You can find the source for this on the examples folder on this CD-ROM along with the other scripts. The most relevant thing about this page is the fact that it contains a hyperlink which leads to the login page. There's also a hyperlink to the registration page. We're going to do the login page first. So let's start scripting that out. Let's start that with a session start command, which has to come at the beginning of our script before we've served any HTML to the client or the user's browser. We're then going to set up a page with a title and body section, which contains the heading login, and then we're going to have some script. Before we write the script, I think we would be better off to quickly write out the form that we're going to use to deliver the variables that the user enters to the script. Now, this form is going to work pretty much the same way as the other forms we've used before, but we're going to use as the target the same name as the script itself. Let's give this script its name, and that is login.php. As we can see, this script calls itself with this HTML form. So when the user enters their data into the input fields, the data will be returned to this very page. We'll see why this is a good idea when we get to writing the script. First piece of data that the user is expected to enter is their username, and then they're asked for their password. And we're going to use an input type called password so that the stars or asterisks will be shown instead of the letters as the user types them in. And then we need a submit button, and we're going to put the word login on there. That's the end of our form, and that is the final part of our page. Now, this is all the HTML part of this page, but the interesting bit comes in at the middle. First of all, let's put a condition in. What this condition is going to do is it's going to check to see if this page has been called by itself with the relevant data, or if it's been called for the first time from entrance.html or from any other part of the website. So if this page is called by itself, then the two variables user and pass will have been delivered by the post method to this page. Therefore, these variables should be available to the page. So we can use that as the test condition. Then we're going to test for a variable called logged in user. And we're going to check that that is the same as the username that has just been supplied. Now, the logged in user variable is what we're going to register the user variable if we've successfully logged in the user. So in other words, this condition tests whether the user is already logged in which case we want to give them an error message. So we're going to use their name to refer to them and say, you are already logged in. And then we're going to put some hyperlinks that will send the user to the main page or to the logout page. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back up to the top of the script and declare a variable here which is going to contain that data, because we're going to need to use that more than once. So here's our link to the main page. And we can add the next part by using the combine concatenation operator to add the next part of text to what we defined in the first line, and that's going to be the logout link. Once we've defined that one variable, in fact this is possibly too confusing, so I'm just going to run those two lines together. It makes for a long line of PHP, but that's just a couple of hyperlinks, so we don't really need to see it to appreciate what's happening with the script. So down here, instead of echoing the text of the links, we're just going to echo the links variable. Then we're going to exit the script because the rest of this doesn't need to be executed. However, if the user is not logged in under the name that's just been passed to it on the form, so this is a non-logged in user trying to log in, or a user who's already logged in but not under the name that they've just passed through the form, then we want to check the data that the user has given us against the database. So we're going to set up a connection, and it's very inadvisable to simply specify a host with no port or password arguments in a real situation. We're going to look at this later on. Just for now, we're going to be still using localhost and keeping it very simple, but I should stress that this is only for our development situation on our local machine and doesn't provide adequate security, but we'll look at that later on. Then we're going to select the database that we created for this login system, and we're going to run a query similar to the one that we ran from the MySQL command prompt in the first movie. And what that's going to be is select star from users where name equals, then we're going to have to put a single quote, double quote to break out concatenation operator and the user variable, concatenation operator, double quote to get back in to the string, and a single quote to indicate that the value that we're trying to compare to the name field has concluded. Then we need another condition, which is that the password column in the users table equals, and here we're going to use the password function, the MySQL password function, to check the data that the user has given us against the encrypted data on the database.